Hello again and welcome to another Mage Tower guide. This time we're going to be going over the Outlaw Rogue. So as always, we're going to start off with our consumables. We're going to need light blood elixirs, flasks of the 7th demon, potions of prolonged power, haste food of some sort, and drums of fury or the mountain. Either one, they are the same thing. Moving on to talents. In the first tier, I went with Quick Draw over Ghostly Strike, mainly because Quick Draw is a lot easier to use. I know that Ghostly Strike is typically considered the better talent to take, but for me it was just much easier to use this one. It was a lot easier to understand and it didn't really make the rotation any more complicated, so I went with that one. That's really up to you. They're probably both fairly good in this situation. In the next tier I went with Acrobatic Strikes. It's really the best one in my opinion for this tier, as it also works with Blade Flurry, so you'll be able to increase your AoE range, which will be very important with cleaving down the adds. In the next tier, I went with Deeper Stratagem. This is really just kind of the best one on the list here, and it's made even better with what we use in our final tier with Marked for Death, but I'll get to that in a second. In the next tier, I went with Iron Stomach. This is absolutely the best one to pick here, as you are going to have to be healing yourself at all times, as opposed to relying on a healer like you would in normal content. So this is going to be your primary way of being able to reliably regenerate your health, so that one is by far the best. In the next tier, I went with Prey on the Weak over Dirty Tricks. Honestly though, this tier didn't even really make that much of a difference for my kill. You can probably make an argument for all of these. If I were to do it again, right now I'd probably go with Dirty Tricks, but I feel like it was such a slight difference that it really just comes down to your playstyle. So pick which one you like the most and go with that. In the next tier, I went with Alacrity, as it is already the best one in the row, but also you're able to keep this buff up throughout the entirety of the challenge at maximum stacks, making it way better than the other two. And finally, in the last tier, I went with Marked for Death. Now, if you are in the higher item level range, maybe like 930-ish plus, then you can go with Slice and Dice, which is actually the better talent in terms of pure DPS, and you can also avoid the RNG that is Roll the Bones that way. But if you're on the lower side of the item levels, I would highly suggest going with Marked for Death, as it'll give you a better way to quickly deal with the adds that are extremely important in this challenge. So those are the talents that I used. Now, before we get into the kill video, let's quickly run through the mechanics we'll be seeing in this challenge. Starting with the boss herself, Agatha has 4 abilities. The first one is Shadow Stab, which is just mainly her auto attack, and there's nothing you need to do with that. Her second ability is called Dark Fury. This is a channel that she will cast, and at the same time, she will also put an Absorb Shield around herself. You'll need to make sure that you break through the Absorb Shield first before you can interrupt her. The longer that she is able to channel this ability, the higher the damage that you will take from it. So you'll need to make sure that you can break through the shield and interrupt it in a timely manner. The third ability is Agatha's Fury. This is something that she'll cast whenever you kill an imp, which will form a purple swirly underneath wherever you're currently standing that you'll need to just move out of. It does do a fair amount of damage, but it's not overwhelming. And finally, her last ability is Fell Lava Blast. This will only be cast in the second phase of the encounter, and when she uses it, this will be a green swirly under your feet that will also leave behind a small puddle. You'll just want to avoid the swirly and avoid the puddle. Alongside Agatha, there are 4 types of imps you'll be dealing with as well, each with their own set of mechanics. The first type of imp we'll be seeing is a Smoldering Imp. They have a Firebolt attack that each time they're able to get a cast off, it will increase the damage of the next one. So you'll want to make sure that you're killing these as quickly as you can. The next type of imps we'll talk about are the Imp Servants. These will spawn in 2s at a distance away from Agatha. They will then begin to run towards her, and once they reach her, they will begin to channel Funnel Energy. This will slowly start to heal her and also apply a permanent buff to her overall damage. Just like the other imps, you'll want to kill them as quickly as you can. The next imps are the Umbral Imps. These have 2 abilities, the first of which is a Shadow Bolt that just does a trivial amount of damage, and also a Translocate. This will teleport them a short distance away, but somewhere still in the vicinity of Agatha. However, the most important thing to note about the Umbral Imps is that while they are active, Agatha will not be able to take any damage at all or be interrupted. So you'll need to make sure that you're killing these as fast as possible. These take the absolute precedent over everything else. And the last type of imps we'll be seeing are called Fuming Imps. These guys will spawn in and begin running towards you. If they reach you, they will begin to cast Plague Zone. If this cast goes off, they will explode, killing themselves, but also leave a big puddle on the ground. This will slow you if you stand in it and also deal ticking damage to you while you remain in the pool. So you either want to make sure this explodes away from Agatha or where you need to be standing, or you'll want to kill them before they're able to finish the cast. And lastly, we have one additional mechanic to look out for, which are these boulders that will begin falling from the ceiling in Phase 2. Basically, you just want to make sure you're avoiding them, because if you get hit, you will be stunned and take a good amount of damage. So those are all the mechanics we'll be seeing in this encounter, so let's go on to the kill video. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to start off in stealth so we can open with an ambush. I'm going to pop my drums and my adrenaline rush, but I'm not going to use my artifact ability right away. So I'm going to go ahead and open on her. We're going to start off with these set of adds. And the general way I'm going to be dealing with adds is I'm going to carry whatever combo points from one into the next one so I can run through right away like that, then mark, and then immediately run through again. And that's how I'll generally be dealing with the adds every time that they're up, as it felt like the easiest way to deal with them. So now I'm using my Dreadblade's artifact ability, as I want to pump in as much damage to Agatha as I possibly can. The first phase of this felt way harder in general than the rest of the challenge, so we really want to get through this as quickly as we can. Now I did reset my roll the bones there for really no reason, if I'm being honest. I just wasn't really thinking, but I did get Grand Melee, which is a good one to keep with, especially if you're struggling with keeping your health up, as that one gives you 25% leech, so it's really, really good for personal survivability. So here's our first Dark Fury. As you can see, I'm breaking through the barrier and then immediately interrupting her cast. And then right away we get our first set of Umbral Imps, like I said before, immediately running through and then marking and then running through again. So just like this, run through, mark, run through. And it's a really easy way to deal with these adds, as well as carry momentum from one add to the next, is a good way to put it. So back onto Agatha and trying to pump in as much damage as I can. So we keep getting these Fuming Imps, and the way that I'm basically dealing with them is trying to kill them instead of just position them to explode in a good position, as I don't want to have to go through the process of moving out of the way. It felt like it took too much time compared to some of the other Agatha's challenges where I do use that strat. So interrupting her again. And again, just focusing mainly on her. I'm going to go ahead and use my potion now. Get these servants down as quickly as possible. And then back to Agatha. So as you can see, it can get really hectic. Make sure that you're using your Blade Flurry every time that they come up, especially in these tightly grouped packs, and try to kill them as quickly as you can. Now right here, I made this huge mistake. I targeted the wrong one, essentially, and it threw off my rhythm, and I was too focused on trying to switch targets, and I ended up letting them both explode. Fortunately, they're in a position where I can avoid them moving forward, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, you can use Gouge there. I don't know why I didn't. I just kind of I was stumbling over my keyboard essentially. So if they do go off, it really isn't the end of the world, especially right at the beginning, as it's fairly easy to avoid them. But as you can see here, I'm just trying to focus on killing these guys as quickly as I can. There I finally decided to use Gouge, as that makes a lot of sense, to stop that one from exploding. So whenever you have time, when nothing is up, that's when you should be trying to pour in as much damage as you possibly can onto Agatha. So as you can see, I even bursted there as well again. So here, Blade Flurry back up, and I'm just going to be moving around as quickly as I can. Now right there, I got slowed, as well as I had a boulder coming down on me. I used Cloak of Shadows. Extremely good way to get out of a sticky situation like that when you mess up your positioning. So Cloak of Shadows, extremely good for dodging the boulders when and if you need to do it like that, as well as removing that dot that will sometimes apply to you that applies a slow. So here we go again, where she's teleporting across and down over here. I'm going to sprint to her, pump in a little bit more damage, and that way we can quickly try to break this shield and get this interrupt before the next set of Umbrals come out. And here's another Fuming. Get it killed really, really quickly there, which was nice. And just pumping in more damage now. And so she's already teleported again, so we'll go ahead and sprint back. So here I saw these guys spawn right in front of me. I'm just going to quickly try to kill them so I can then worry about everything else in front of me. So Blade Flurry back on, and then just like I was saying before, just kind of moving my mark around the room to quickly deal with the Umbrals. And just all the imps in general. As you can see, there was one that went off in the middle there, one of the Fumings, which again, if it's directly under her, really, really, really not a big deal, because you never need to be directly under her ever. So if they are going to explode in the middle, really not a big deal. Don't worry about it too much unless you decide to do what I do for no reason, which is stand in one of the puddles. So just don't do that, essentially. And she is almost dead, but she is going to transition one more time. For whatever reason, I decided I just wanted to deal more damage to imps. I could have just run down here and killed her. For whatever reason, I'm having fun just killing imps for the sake of killing imps. But I just kind of get focused a little bit, sometimes too much on mechanics and not just where I am in the fight. So that's kind of why I did that. And in a better situation, I would have just run down there and immediately killed her. But that's it. That's pretty much the fight. So let me know if you guys have any questions or comments, and I will try to get back to you as quickly as I can. I also just started a Twitter for the channel so that if you have a question that doesn't really relate to any of the guides that I've done so far, but you want to ask it but don't know where to put it, you can hit me up on Twitter, and again, I will try to get back to you as quickly as I can. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video.